Assalamu alaikum. Hello, everyone. Today, I will talk about implementation of assistive technology with Down syndrome. This is Eqab Al-Badarneh, Senior Occupational Therapist. Assistive technology is playing an enabling role in the life of Down syndrome. As we know now, recently that the assistive technology start to be implemented in different type of rehabilitation, some for communication or other for rehabilitation as a robotic. And this assistive technology is different from the low tech to the high tech. Assistive technology can allow Down syndrome to improve their quality of life in all aspects of daily life skill and make them be more social and independent. The main goal of using assistive technology with Down syndrome is to make them more independent and more social. And inshallah, we will talk about it in other slide. And as we know now, assistive technology can enhance the Down syndrome communication, which in turn can improve their independence and social interaction and performance in general. And the world is providing a vital effort on facilitating the life of Down syndrome and encouraging their engagement in the normal social life. So it's like we can summarize that the assistive technology is to improve the quality of life, improve the social communication, and improve the daily life skill performance for the Down syndrome. Assistive technology, it may include any type of equipment or material that will enhance the child learning and make them or make the task is more easier for them. And it will be different, as we mentioned before, from the low tech to the high tech. The low tech, if we are using like a scissor with battery, or even like if we are using as a PICS, to the high tech, which is using the eye gaze. When we want to start to use the assistive technology with Down syndrome, we need to not ignoring what we have today, and we need to hope for tomorrow. So we need to understand what is the strength point with the child now, and what is the weakness point for the child, and what is the goal we are looking to achieve by providing the Down syndrome children with assistive technology. As we mentioned before, that what does the assistive technology mean? It's improving the quality of the life for the children and increase the independence for them. So assistive technology real way to work. As we know that there is, like we mentioned later on, about the group of assistive technology and how it's different. So we need to understand what is the goal issue, what we want versus what seems possible. So what is the goal that we want to achieve it with the child? A solution, what is our common suggestion for the child? And the outcome, how to do it. So what is the process we need to do it to reach the goals? The assistive technology group we are using with Down syndrome is augmentative and alternative communication, which is AAC, and other type of the accessibility and rehabilitation. Augmentative and alternative communication, we use it for the social interaction and for the clear communication with the other. And also it can maybe vary from the low tech to the high tech. And also we need to, like we use it for communication and improve cognitive for the child. Accessibility, it can be different from different devices, and it will be affected, or our decision, it will be affected by what is the motor or sensory issue that the child he have it. For example, many they have a low tone, or like, so they don't have that muscle strength. So most probably they cannot use the scissor. So maybe we can go to the operated scissor by battery. Also, it can be like some accessible switches we can use it or add it to the computer from the point that we don't want the child to do a repetitive movement. It can be affect his joint. especially they have like laxity in their joint. So it can be very also depend on the clinical judgment for the therapist, even if he was OT or speech or physiotherapy. And the rehabilitation, which is we are using some type of robotic or neuro feedback for the child to work on the even motor side or sensory or also cognitive side. What is the purpose of AAC, which augmentative and alternative devices, is that use technology and non-technology means to provide a message for an individual to communicate or participate within an activity. So mainly, what is the person he want to communicate? What is the main goal for communication? Is like his needs, like for example, he wants water, he wants to go to washroom, he wants food, he's feeling angry, happy, like he wants to answer some question. So the multidisciplinary team will be working together to do the dictionary list for the child, to choose which word he wants to be used for communicate with the other. The benefit of assistive technology in general and for AAC as a specific is like decrease frustration, which is like if the child he cannot communicate with the other, maybe it make him feel frustration, and also like if he cannot to complete one task or perform one task, also maybe it will lead him to be a frustration. So by using the assistive technology, it can make him more independent, and which affect his personality and like development, and by the end self-regulation. Build language, which he can communicate with the other and express his need, feeling, and all of that. Decrease anxiety, increase confidence as a communicator, and provide a foundation for learning to talk. Component of AAC here, what is the main component we want to focus on while we decide to use the AAC devices with student? Forms of communication, language representation method, and utterance generation method, and means of access. So this is the main component we want to focus on. When we talk about forms of communication, we need to focus on needs and want for the person, information exchange, social closeness, and maintenance. So this is the main thing we want to focus when we are looking for doing the forms of communication. There is many of misconception and like look the parent, or for that the parent or some of the teacher, they are refusing to use assistive technology and AAC with the student, which is like my child is too young to use AAC, or my child won't talk if they are using the AAC, or using the AAC mean giving up on my child talking. But the last research, and especially from ASHA, all is talking that the AAC, it can help the child to improve their language, receptive and expressive language. And there is no any research like mentioned that the using of AAC, it will make the child not talk at all. So which is like from the beginning, it's like a facilitator or enabler to use it to reach our goals. Augmentative versus alternative. When we're talking augmentative communication, is to add some speech, coupled with gesture communication, port communication devices. Alternative communication is to replace. So here also a big, most important information we want when we want to decide that I want to choose or use the AAC with one student. I want to understand if I want to add some speech for his gesture, or I want to replace something. So alternative, it's mean replace no speech, sign language, typing, or writing communication devices, which is like completely, he will be rely on the device. In augmentative, it will be like add more speech, which we can use it to facilitate or improve his expressive language. When we use the AAC devices with the student or with any children, we want to be careful and like give a space for the user to reply to us or reply on the messages. So here's some point that the user really need it when someone talk to them. It's 100% of our faith in their ability to learn. We need to have that faith that they can learn and they can get the benefit when they are using, and they have that strong point that make them improve. 0% of requested skill demand. So I don't want to add for them a demand, extra demand on them. 5 seconds at least waiting time for a response. Like when I see someone like teacher or therapist sometimes giving the child an AAC and he want to train them, they cannot, or like they cannot give them enough time to reply. You know, like even the brain, he don't have that enough time to process the information they are received. So at least we need to give them at least. So we need to give them 5 seconds. Some of the students depend on the assessment and evaluation for each user. Maybe it can be more. 24 hours on 7 AAC made available all the time. And here is the big issue, I think, why the AAC most probably is not working with the student, that it's not available all the time. Sometimes maybe the school or the center, they are using the AAC with the child when he's going back to the home, they are not using. So this one, it will be affect the progress for the child, or at the same time, maybe it can be in one environment, but it cannot be generalized to the adults. So for example, in the classroom or speech therapy, they can use it, and but the other places they are not using the AAC. And here, like from the beginning, when we are doing the IEP for the student, we need to mention the using of AAC. And here also there is some mistake when I'm using the IEP. The AAC only they add the goals for AAC only in the speech section, which is something not right. We need to add it in every single goals, how to use the AAC with that goal. So for example, in motor, sensory, cognitive, like sport, music, art, we need to add all goals, how to use or what is the goals while using the AAC in all IEP goals. Assessment, in general, communication is meant to participation. So when we are doing the assessment, we need to do the assessment in every, like in different type of or different places, like while the child is doing activity, while the child is with his partner, or he's with his parent, with his friend, and also in different environments. So for example, like the child is playing with his partner in the classroom, I need to understand how his communication with his classmate, or for example, with his brother or mother, how his communication, like for example, if there is some word he's using or some gesture he use it with his parent, I need to monitor all of that and put it down on the paper, so at least I can, or by that I can do the dictionary list for him and start to work to build his language by using the AAC in cooperation with the speech therapist. So when I'm doing the individual assessment for each child, I need to look for his physical, sensory, and cognitive. For physical, did the child, for example, if I want to give him an iPad, one type of application using for communication, if the child, he has that pointing skill, eye-hand coordination skill, visual perception skill also, sensory, like if the child don't have any problem from like, if I'm using some devices like a Quick Learning 7, if the child, he don't have any problem with tactile, he having a tactile discrimination, or like maybe if I'm using an iPad also, the screen might be the reflection from the screen, it will not affect his his visual input. So we need to look all of that, and also the same about the cognitive, the size of the letter, for example, and the color, and that's the language is used between the parent and all the place, and all of that. So assessment process, it will be first, identify features required by individual based on goal and skills. Second, it will be try the AAC options and intervention modifying as appropriate. And third, it will be trail option in natural context. And also there is a needs assessment, which is SETT, as strength, current performance and weakness for the child, which is reading, math, writing, communication, learning, vision, hearing, mobility, and daily life skill. E, which come from environment of the child. If it's like, for example, if they've all, his environment all is educated, they can use high tech or mild tech. If that device is not working, is the parent can fix it alone, or they need to go to the shop. Task, what is expected from the child. T, the last one, the tools, which is the IEP devices and all of that. When we are doing the assessment, we are gathering the information from family, caregiver, occupational therapy, speech therapy, and physiotherapy, special educator, nurses, a friend, and anyone is dealing with the child. This is a consideration we need to be aware before using or prescribe any assistive technology devices. First is the environment, which like he's in the city or he's in the village, how he can be accessible to the company if he wants to do any maintenance, how is the acceptance from the environment when they are seeing some person like using devices to communicate, educational level for the parent, or also like they can do this if he's using some devices with the software, they can working with that software or not. Occupation, what is he a student or he's working in work placement or whatever. The device size and option, what is the size for the device, and if it's affect the child or heavy on the child or not. What is the option include? It can be with 2 language, 1 language, how many words it can give me, and all of that. Device language also, it's most important. And the last one is very important, which is the price. It's affordable for the parent to buy this device to be using everywhere, or if it's a broke, they can buy a new one. There is a different consideration also we need to look about it. It's like a sensory motor component from the physical and sensory motor, like from the physical, the access feature, sensory, like for example, auditory feedback, sensory motor, visual and tactile feedback, the cognitive component, which the operational skill required to run that device, the language content and organization. And we have environmental component, which is programming, repairing, mounting, if we need to mount the devices. There is a different type of assistive technology. I will just go through some picture. It's like, because there is no time, like a Big Mac, here using a single message, we can communicate with the other. There's a different type of switches devices, so that we can use it to communicate with the other and build the language for the children with Down syndrome. And there's like accessory to be added to computer, as we mentioned before, if the child have a hypotonia and his fine motor skills. So we can add some of assistive technology or switches to the computer, so he can use the computer in easier way. And here, for example, the eye gaze, also we can connect it to some software, so we can use it to improve, like, for example, different type of cognitive skill depending on what we need. And here we see a different type of mouse. Also, we can use it. We have it also like a keyboard or like a hitch here, so we can modify the computer and make it accessible by a different. If the child is having that much problem in fine motor skill, we can use keyboard gloves, which he can accessible for the computer by the gloves. And this is like a quick review about the assistive technology, which we can use it with Down syndrome. I will wait for your question to answer on it, inshallah. Thank you very much. Thank you.